continue what we started discussing earlier, character traits, and you guys were brainstorming some context clues that help us peer into who a character really is. You remember some of the things you guys talked about?
I remember us saying actions, like what you do.
Actions. Yeah.
We said like emotions and feelings.
Emotions and feelings. Alright, give me like 2 more.
Also, like what you say, like verbally.
Sayings. Yeah.
And your thoughts.
Thoughts. Awesome. Okay. And these tell us character traits. Alright, so we're gonna read a passage from the reading this week, Things Fall Apart. It's on page 32. And I want you guys to keep these context clues in mind while you're reading the passage, alright? Cool.
I'll start. Okonkwo spent the next few days preparing his seed yams. He looked at each yam carefully to see whether it was good for sowing. Sometimes he decided that a yam was too big to be sown as one seed, and he split it deftly along its length with his sharp knife. His eldest son, Noyi, and Ikemfuna helped him by fetching the yams in long baskets from the barn and in counting the prepared seeds in groups of 400. Sometimes Okonkwo gave them a few yams each to prepare, but he always found fault with their effort, and he said so with much threatening.
Do you think you are cutting up yams for cooking? He asked Noye. If you split another yam of this size, I shall break your jaw. You think you are still a child? I began to own a farm at your age. And you, he said to Ikemfuna, do you not grow yams where you come from? Inwardly, Okonkwo knew that the boys were still too young to understand fully the difficult art of preparing seed yams. But he thought that one could not begin too early. Yam stood for manliness.
Okay, awesome. Alright, so using the clues that we talked about, tell me who you think Okonkwo is based off of that passage.
Well, actions, I started by saying he was preparing yams for dinner, which comes off as a responsible person.
Okay, so he's responsible because he's providing for his family.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What else?
Also, I noticed, going off of what he was saying, he was really critical of his son.
What did he say?
He's criticizing him. Do you think you're cutting up yams for cooking? Just a bunch of really questions that I think he knows the answer to, but he's just trying to make his point about how critical he is.
Okay, so he's critical of his son because he was yelling at him about how he was chopping the yams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I also think he's aggressive because he also says that if Noye splits another yam, he's gonna break his jaw. He says, "I shall break." A little
bit aggressive. So what was that? Was that a saying?
A saying.
Okay. Aggressive. All right. Tell me more. Tell me about him based off of something that he was feeling or thinking.
Well, the last part that Nay read, he was saying that he was talking about how he understood that his son was too young to actually know what he was doing, but that he was never too old to learn how to work. So to me, I would say that's fatherly.
Okay.
And yeah.
Those were also under his thoughts because it kind of says he thinks to himself inwardly, and it kind of shows that he's a perfectionist. Because although Amber said, he acknowledges that the kids are young, he still believes that they're not too young.
Okay, so he wants them to be more mature, despite how young they are.
And you can tell that through his thoughts and his emotions that he values what he's doing really a lot, and that works into his standards for his son.
Okay.
To be perfect.
Okay, we're emphasizing that. Awesome. Anything else about his emotions or? Well, I do think that based off this passage, we already know a lot about Okonkwo. So Okonkwo is responsible, critical, aggressive, fatherly, and he's a perfectionist. And you got all of that based off of the things he said, did, thought, and felt in that passage. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to do the cheer that we practiced earlier to help us remember all these character traits. Ready?
Yeah. Hey.
Hey. Hey. Let's sing a rhyme about some traits so I know how to get this A. Who I am is what I think, what I feel, and what I say. And don't forget my actions too. You know me by what I do. Nice, guys. Great class. See you guys on